Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xah Talk Show. Today is July 17th, 2019. Today is Wednesday, and now it's 8 o'clock, 10 after 8. I'm 10 minutes late. And today we are going to talk about random subjects, random topics, something about keyboard, something about programming, okay? And let us begin then. Something about keyboard and something about programming. Sucking on this like you suck your mom's tits. That's and okay. So keyboards and programming. So let's go to keyboard blog. I'm gonna show you something about okay, programming, and let's go to keyboard. Okay. So let's go to keyboards. Let me adjust the windows so you can see properly versus improperly. We want things to be proper. So keyboard. So you got this window, and then let's pop this out. Good morning, people. Two people. So keyboard. We're gonna talk about keyboard and programming, random topics, and basically I'm covering what's new. Something new and interesting. Then we'll talk about it. So first stop is keyboard. Worst Apple design. Okay, let's have a look at that worst Apple design. Okay, since Steve Jobs is really truly a great guy. He is a well, I mean, I don't mean great guy, but he's great in that he is a innovator. He's a visionary. He is one of the true visionary. Like there are some true artists, for example, Prince and David Bowie. They are true artists in that word, in the sense of the word, the fundamental sense of the word artist. They create art, they are creative. David Bowie and Prince, for example. Not Madonna, for example, no. And today's pop, artists, not no, none of them, pretty much. Um, you know, but Steve Jobs is a true visionary. He's an innovator, visionary. And but since he died, now it's 10 years now. Since he died, Apple, it seems to me they are just going downhill. Look at these Apple designs. They got these dongles. Okay, dongles. Uh, Dongle Zoo. Ask me about my dongles. Uh, you know. So what and also one of the most insulting things is that Apple invented or popularized the magnetic charge. When power, magnetic uh, coupler. I don't know how you call that. Basically it's magnetic, so that when you trip over the wires, it doesn't pull your laptops down. That's truly one of the great invention, but they removed it. Imagine, they had this great invention. I think they patented it so that other people cannot make it, but they removed it in the past few years. It must be 4 years by now, or five. So they removed that magnetic power link. What are they thinking? What since Steve Jobs died, extreme idiots. Then you started to have this dongle thing. Let me tell you why this happens. Okay, I've been using. Well, I was a fan of Mac since 1991. My first Mac is Mac 2 Si. I paid 3,000 total for it. I think $1,000 for the monitor, $2,000 for the computer. And back then, the monitor, that $1,000, oh, was it 2,000? I forgot which is which. But anyway, that $1,000 monitor was the best, well, kind of the best at the time, 1992 or 91. And it's Apple RGB, color monitor, and it's got how many colors? 256, something like that. And it's, how many pixels resolution? It's 640 by 480. It's 640 by 480. So today that monitor would be, how large would that be? Let me today that monitor would be smaller than this panel. It would be, yeah, the width is about 640, yeah, about this wide, maybe a bit smaller, and 480. So it's so that was in 1992, and that monitor is 1,000 something dollars. Anyway, let's look at Apple again. So I've been using Apple. I was an Apple fan since 1990, since 1990s. Like, you have to like, like today you have news, right? Back then you have 1991, internet just began. You don't really have websites. There's no websites yet, but internet began. You have user groups. You have Usenet, and you have what was I going to say? You have oh yeah. So like today, whenever Apple had a new product, or Microsoft create a new product, or Google, Chromebook or whatever, it on Twitter, on all the social media networks. Everyone is like talking about it. Especially the phone. Today it's phone. It's not about laptops. It's like, Apple, Samsung created S8 or whatever. Phone. These features, this. What CPU, what speed. Like but back then, you don't have internet. So what do you do? Of course, people still follow all these news, but you have magazines. You have, like, for example, Mac Word, PC Word, Mac user magazines like that. Let me show you some Mac users. Okay, Mac user, Mac Word, and PC Word. For example, these are some of the magazines back then. So that is it, PC Word, and you can see they don't have. They should show some covers. Yeah, like this one, Mac Word. So back then you have these magazines, which they are monthly. They come out every month, and they detail every news, every latest Apple product, the spec, what, then technology, how it works, so and Mac user is another magazine, uh, Mac user here. But anyway, so I follow these magazines. My point is that I've been, as a Mac fan, like today, you follow all the news. Like, some Mac fans, for example, they know every detail. Like, they can name every product model every year. What's new, what changed, what's the difference between this year's and last year. They can tell. You see that every day almost on the on Twitter stuff. But back then we do that too. You have to remember, but it's like magazines, and until 1997, then it's internet, more and more internet. But what's my point? My point is, all this energy, you do it every day. Like, you do this every, constantly, every week. You know every detail of Apple's moves. What's new, what new product they have, and rumors. One big thing about Mac is like, rumor is a big thing. People want to know what Apple is doing. What's coming out in next year. What's Apple's plan? But anyway, so so back then you have this user interface debate. Back in 1991, Windows, there's pretty much no user interface. I mean, no graphical user interface on Windows. Anyway, I digress a lot. So anyway, let's get back. So Apple. So let me get to the point I want to say about these. So dongles. Apple throughout 1990s and throughout, I would say, even 2000s when Steve Jobs is around, they are truly innovative. Okay, they are the first. They are the first computer to have USB, for example, the first computer to have a CD drive, the first computer to have a mouse. I mean, not necessarily the inventor, but the first consumer level. They produce the stuff for the masses, for everyone. They to have the mouse. So mouse, graphical user interface, USB, firewire, whatever, the ports, the latest technology for the ports. Apple was the first, and it, typically, usually after 2 or 3 years, like typically after 3 years, then the PC or Windows machine started to have it, because Apple made sure, Apple began it, and made sure that it is here to stay, and the rest of the industry follow Apple. So Apple is truly innovative. The desktop publishing, the graphical user interface, that's immense. And as you know, in the 2000s, Apple made the iPhone popular, and before that, it was the RIP music, the iPod. Apple truly made it popular, to the degree that the industry accepted. It becomes the everyday thing. It's all because of Apple. Even though their stuff is more expensive and so on. So I got 7 people watching. Say hi, okay? And any comments, just post it, okay? I like that. Post your thoughts. So Apple is very innovative. The graphical user interface, that's tremendous. Uh, and Windows do catch up. So Apple began it. Then Microsoft started to have Windows. Windows with a graphical user interface and mouse. Uh, and so anyway, so so Apple has a history of innovation. But you see, this innovation is not like, innovation is different from, let's just use whatever, the latest technology. Okay, that's different from that. Successful innovation, like Steve Jobs has done for Apple and for the world, in a sense, for everyone, is that you don't just like find out, what's the latest technology and create something people don't, people do not necessarily, typically people don't care about your technology. People don't care about new technology, and if you press on it, people usually do not want any change. They don't want change. Okay, they don't want any new tech, like, oh, you have to do it this way, this is new. They don't want it. So successful innovation, it takes quite a few things. Steve Jobs, he has a talent for it. First of all, you have the idea, and it must be done in a practical way that it's something people want. That's what Apple did. That's why Apple is successful. Okay, something he Steve Jobs created something people want. Let me close my window blinds there. So that's the first thing. Then uh, you create something people want. You by using technology, of course. And but also you must have great. This is necessary condition. You must have great marketing skill. It's kind of like a businessman. You have to have that skill, marketing skill, and of course the willingness to do it. For example, you know, I'm a programmer. I'm a nerd. Most of us, a lot of my followers, you guys are also programmers, nerds. and a lot nerds, you don't have marketing skill, you don't have you don't have business, you don't have persuasion skills, and also you may not even want to, like if you ask yourself, uh, you know would you do that if you're gonna be very rich, but it means you have to change your personality. You cannot be an engineer type, concerned about truth or fact or precision, or and interest, pay attention to sciences. You cannot do that if because each person, and are you willing to sometimes make a lie, so that you make a sale, things like that. You may not, this may not be your it's not necessarily like whether you have the skill or not, but rather you have to have they say the phrase is you have to be willing and able. Able is the ability. Do you have the ability to be a salesman? That's one thing. The other thing is, are you willing? So that for but so Steve Jobs, yeah, so he's a great creative innovator, entrepreneur. That's what they say. So they created, so Apple created all this innovation, but since Steve Jobs died, Apple, it seems to me much of the innovation, as far as I see, it's gone. It's like so what has Apple become since Steve Jobs died? It became, it just it became a company who follows uh, fashion and the latest technology, such as this, such as this Apple Touch Bar. Nobody wants it. Nobody needed. Nobody wanted. It's just a piece of technology. They think it's cool. That's what Apple, since Steve Jobs died, created things like this Touch Bar. And also this their keyboard, the butterfly keyboard, is one of the worst. It's worse in, first of all, the technology, the keyboard, the product is no good. People don't like it. It's like so thin. You don't have depth to, you cannot, you don't have this, when you press a key, you have certain satisfaction. You press something down, but you don't have that on the butterfly keyboard. That's one thing. So it's a bad product. But the other thing is that Apple becomes sinister. They do always, evil ways to, for example, the butterfly keyboard, they make it so that it is impossible to replace it. uh, I mean, for example, when a key is broken, and the key is easily broken, when a dust get into it, things like that, it start to repeat or doesn't work anymore. And it is not possible to replace a single key. Like you have to replace the whole keyboard, and Apple made sure that nobody can sell their, do it except them, because they want to make money. They become very evil. And this incident is very popular. It's everywhere. You can read articles about that. So butterfly keyboard is crap. And the rumor has it that the next year, or this year, I don't know when, the next Mac is not going to have the butterfly keyboard anymore. They are going to have, they are gonna do away with it. So anyway, butterfly keyboard is bad. This Apple Touch Bar crap, nobody wants. And look at this, how impossible, you know fantastically idiotic can it be? Apple created this situation. And look at this mouse. This all happened since Steve Jobs died. And then the dongle situation. So Apple became just a company that follows fashion and using latest technology. They lost the vision, the practical vision of Steve Jobs. So that's Apple. It's very bad. So Apple. So what's up, guys? So comments, questions, type it. Okay, type it, type it. So Apple is very bad. Now let's talk about okay. There's news if you are using Kinesis, which is what I'm using. Okay, I need to show you this. Look, this is my keyboard, and let me show you slowly. You turn around, then you see me. Then my keyboard. This is my keypad. It's a numerical keypad, but I use it as a function keypad. I can, for example, I go over there. I press a button. Let me see. I press the button. It's closed. You see, press the button, closed, and I press this button to reopen last closed. Reopen last closed. You see, this is fantastic. I press this button, switch left, switch right. You see, left, 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 left. You see, right, 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 right. Close that, close that. PC Word, close that. You see, fantastic. And then okay, this for example, this page is too small. I enlarge it, or I shrink it. Enlarge, shrink. It's all one finger operation. That's the thing. I talked a lot about in my keyboard articles. You can see logic principle of explosion. That's fantastic topic. Hey, good morning, Green Deck. Haven't seen you for a while. What do you think about Linux integration into Windows? What can I say? I mean, I suppose it's very good, for Microsoft, because then you have this operating system that you can play games, or you can do coding, open source oriented coding. So it's good for people, and it's good for Microsoft because they are going to make more money. But on the other hand, as we know, as we likely agree, we don't like big corporations because Microsoft, they don't give a flying fuck about open source or the goodness or whatever ethical issues. Their goal is just to make money, and so, and they created this, so it's good for them. And I suppose a lot of people will start to use it instead of Linux. Like you don't need, it's like gradual. Like once you tried, maybe today you tried Microsoft, Linux on Microsoft Windows, you find it that it works fine. Then gradually you just don't use your Linux box anymore. Like next year you got a new computer, you thought, I'm too lazy. So it's a way that Microsoft, you can say that it's a way Microsoft take away Linux users. uh, Yes, yeah, I talk about a lot. Let me finish this. So, but by the way, if you don't already know, I was an open source Free Software Foundation fanatic back then, but not today. I think the open source and free software, they are no good. They become an ideology and they are harmful. I just like to I want to mention that because anyway, so that's what I think about Microsoft. With Linux integration. I haven't used it, so I don't know much about it. I don't have money to, I don't have money today, so I cannot, try stuff or buy a new computer. So anyway, so let's talk. And by the way, that reminds me, someone else asked me a question about ergodox. Like, what do I think of ergodox? So I'll talk about that. Let me open that just in case I forgot. Keypads. Let's see. Open. Where is it? Fun keyboards. Do it yourself. There. So someone asked me, what do I think about ergodox? Some of these topics I talked about several times in the past. But I have a video every day, and not everyone watch it, of course. And But the interesting thing is that you add almost any singer, performer, comedian, or lecturer, like you teach calculus or whatever, almost any one of them celebrity, they have to basically, they when they do a tour or they on interview, they have to answer the same question repeatedly. Like before I thought about this, I thought it's a waste. It's a waste of resources, like that. Like it should be like you say something once, then everyone can, for example, watch that video. Or you have written about some issue once, an essay, you publish it somewhere, then everyone, so that question is, done for once for all. But then I thought that's not the case, because actually in practice, in real life, and in fact it's a normal situation, just because look at teachers, like for example calculus teachers at university college. Their job is to repeat the same thing every year, because every year, why? Because every year there are new people, freshmen, so-called freshmen in college, meaning first year college students. They don't. I learned that they don't call it freshmen anymore today. Since like 3 or 5 years ago, because of course you can't have a word with men in it. So you have to. So what do you call, you call fresh people? So here's a we are verging onto linguistics. So if you cannot use the word freshman, then what you gonna say? So you have to say fresh people, but that's wrong. you, you can, it doesn't sound right. Fresh people. So you just say first year students. I suppose that's what they. And sophomore is second year student, college student. That's an English word for second year college student. And that word is also very interesting, sophomore. So what does it mean, sophomore? Where does the word come from? It came from basically it means semi morons. Okay, so let's go to okay, we digress a lot, which is Xah Talk shows SOPHOMORE. Let's go to etymology. Okay, Xah etymology, linkify and show in browser. So we have etymology of sophomore. I spelled it wrong, so it's not going to work, I don't think. Yeah, not found. So how do you spell sophomore? Anyone? SOPHOMORE. Let's try that. Yeah, that is correct. So etymology, linkify. Okay, and make a paragraph showing browser, and click. Let's look at the etymology of sophomore. 1680s, student in the second year of university study, literally arguer, altered from Sahuma, 1650 from Safum, archaic, archaic variant form of Sufism. Oh, okay. And probably by influence of folk etymology derivation from Greek Sappho's wise moron. Okay, wise morons, wise fool. The original reference might be the dialectic exercises that formed a large part of education in the Middle Years at Oxford and Cambridge, two of the fuck universities in UK. The elite universities like today's Harvard. They are all corrupt. I don't know about Oxford and Cambridge, but I know that in USA, Harvard and many of the other colleges are utterly corrupt. Uh, anyway, there you have it. Sophomore, the etymology of sophomore is okay. So wise fools or arguer. Okay, so altered from. Okay, so it's either arguer. It came from the word arguer, or with some traces to wise fool. So anyway, sophomore, that's what. So we're talking about freshman and sophomore. We talking. Let's get back to what's the previous topic. Uh, what is the previous topic? So anyone? So we were talking about how Apple sucks and uh, ergodox. We're gonna talk about ergodox. We're gonna talk about um, how long have I been talking? 30 minutes. Okay, let's. Okay, I need to. Green Deck, you talked about keyboard. Yeah, we were talking about keyboard. We talked about Microsoft and Linux integration. Then we talked about oh yeah, so repetition. Yeah, repetition in answering questions. Like sometimes I got the same question answered, asked of me many times. I did some talk, answered it before somewhere. And then I was thinking, why does this happen? It's like as a nerd, it's very inefficient. It should be, answer once, then everyone can see it. But then I was thinking about the nature of human life. In fact, this repetition, very inefficient. As a nerd, you think of it as very extremely inefficient because, uh, you know, this repetition is actually the heart of life. It's the process. Think of it as a process instead. Not as an engineering thing. Because like for example, the calculus teachers, in colleges, they have to repeat the same thing every year because every year there are new people. Younger people get born and they don't know nothing. They have to start from the beginning, and then everyone else gets older and older, and you die. so 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 there is this process going on. You see, this is life. This is the condition of how the this is the condition of the world. So this repetition is actually not that odd thing. So anyway, so let's talk about. So that's about that. So let's talk. Some of these I covered yesterday. These keyboards, and but today, let me show you. This is a new. Okay, this is the main thing. Let's talk about this. Then we're gonna talk about ergodox and MMO mouse. Yes, MMO mouse. Let me talk about MMO mouse just a little bit. Okay, MMO mouse is fantastic because I have this one. Actually, let me show it to you. Hold on a second. It's all tangled up in this pile of things. Oh God, how do I get it out? This tangled mess. Jack, back, back. Fish. So you see, so I got this one. I should plug it in because then you'll light up. You'll see all the buttons light up. So that's I don't use it now because let me explain why. So So this multi-button, this got 20 buttons. So this one has got 20 buttons and it's great. But there is so you can, so that, this is great. Some people, the programmer idiots, those people who espouses Linux, VI kind of, or terminal, or even Emacs people, they they are kind of idiots. They tell you like every day is like, oh, don't use the mouse, don't use the mouse, and but they are not efficient. I tell you. Anyway, because for example, okay, there are a lot topics. I have to talk about or explain, but sometimes I just skip some of the details because otherwise, I'm not talk for 100 hours. So anyway, so this mouse, it's great that the gaming, this so-called, they call this kind of massive multiplayer online gaming mouse. Okay, typically that's what this mouse is called, MMO mouse, like uh, massive multiplayer online game mouse. Uh, and this mouse, so it's first of all, mouse is in many cases, mouse is more efficient than keyboard. Okay, for example, if you have a geometric object, or if you are viewing a keyboard in 3D, you want to rotate it in 3D, or for example, you want mouse is most efficient. It's just because, why? Because let me tell you the mathematical gist of why. Okay, the logical gist. Because a keyboard, mathematically, a keyboard, what you have is basically on and off. That's it. That's the whole essence of your control. Keyboard, on and off, and you have many of them. So at any time you can like turn it on or turn it off. That's what keyboard keys are about. It's you know. Meanwhile, a mouse is such that how do you call this, how do you say this, how do you describe it? A mouse, the from if you look at it from a math essence kind of way as an input system, the mouse is that it's not just on and off, like keyboard on off, you have like 100 different on and off, but it's not like that, but rather you have a continuous variable signal. Okay, so think of it as a um, okay, so think of it's like a two-dimensional continuous variable signal. Okay, so think of it as 1 to 100. So you have two bars. Each one is from 0 to 100, and it can be any number in between. And at any time, you have these two numbers sent through the computer when you use the mouse. So that in this sense, you can see it's the data from the mouse is far more rich than the keyboard. Okay, and anyway, mouse provides continuously variable speed variation input device. Okay, plus you have buttons on and off. You have at least two or three or five or more buttons. So anyway, the mouse, let me talk about that. Okay, I discussed this in detail, um, which will be at mouse. Okay, I think that's under the mouse section. Let me show you the articles about about input systems, what they mean mathematically, somewhere here. Okay, and by the way, so here we can also see trackballs. They are very interesting because it's similar to mouse, but however, the control and variation of it's different. Uh, you know, so here are the trackballs, but there is one thing I want to show you. That is about, where is it? So let me go trackballs. Let's see, trackballs, typewriters, miscellaneous. Okay, let's go to miscellaneous. So any comments, questions? Type it. Okay. Uh, So okay, so you have this Space Navigator device, which is very good, but that's and Space Navigator device came from this thing. I mean, this is its predecessor. It came before it. So it was a ball. It's like a ball, but it's not a trackball though. The ball doesn't spin or move. Rather, the ball is just it's just basically essentially it's a joystick, but in such a way that the joystick can be pulled up and pushed down, and it can also be twisted. So that's what this is, and it is used by NASA. I think the first application is by NASA. Spaceships and stuff, and then eventually they came down to this form. But anyway, the reason I'm mentioning this device is because I know from this device I can uh, oh yeah, this article. This is the article I want to talk about. Remember, we were talking about the keyboard versus mouse, and I'm trying to explain in terms of math, logical, exactly this in terms of the signal and stuff, why they are different, and why mouse is more efficient for many tasks. Mouse is just more efficient, meaning you can do it faster with mouse and less strain, finger, muscle strain. uh, you know so for example, I mentioned for rotating 3D object, if you are a CAD user, you do drafts of, or gamers, or if you do game design, 3D character design, or movies, animations, you need to use many of the CAD software, and you need to rotate objects, and mouse is, just is a proper tool. In other words, you wouldn't want to, hammer a nail using a screwdriver. That's what happens with these Linux idiots and Vim, the Vim Parator and those fucks. Like, oh, I want to control everything by the keyboard, these and rat poison, and these window managers, Linux, this type of people. But remember, I'm not totally dissing. I'm not dissing keyboard. Okay, I'm not at all. In fact, keyboard is, that is why I have all these shortcuts. Single key press. What I'm talking about is get rid of non-thinking, those, common pop myth, like in these elite geeks minds. Such as, another great example is, they want to tell you to swap your caps lock key with control key. Okay, that's one of the most idiotic thing. Don't do that unless you are using a laptop keyboard. Then, okay, that's a good solution. If you are not using a laptop keyboard, and you should not, okay, laptop is the primary way to get you repetitive strain injury. Okay, so don't use a laptop keyboard. If you are not using a laptop keyboard, you should never set caps lock to control. Don't do that. I have a lot of articles. You can just search Xah caps lock control. You will find it. I'm not going to talk about that today, because I digress a lot. But anyway, in this article, I discuss, you can read it, and you'll see the differences between the input systems, from the point of view, of what kind of signal, and the properties of the signal they are sending, they are creating. For example, we talked about keyboard, which is basically on and off. You just have 100 kind of parallel on and off. So that's in terms of signal, that's what you got, keyboard. And mouse, you have, two vectors, variable vectors. And and then what about trackpad? Like today, very popular trackpad. Or what about a trackball? How they differ? Then you read this article. I try to explain. I try to give a sense of how they differ. What about a joystick? You have a joystick. So how does it differ from a mouse? I mean, first of all, for most people, how they differ, you can feel it. You don't need the explanation. You know it. Especially if you are a gamer, you probably have a lot of opinions. So mouse is better for first-person shooters. Joystick or the controller, so-called game pads controller, those are inferior. But so most people know, they know which is good for mouse. They know which is good. Keyboard is the best. When is the mouse best? When is the joystick best? Joystick is best when you, for example, when you play arcade games, Pac-Man, those joystick, and other places as well. So what I'm trying to say is that you see these different input devices. Now we talked about the signals they send. How you know so that aspect, the signal they transmit, and how fast they can, what kind of signal, that aspect tell you a lot about uh, a suitability of input device. That's one thing, though. That's not all. That's only like half of the thing. The other thing is like how you can control those signals. For example, keyboard. Let's talk about keyboard. Remember, keyboard keys are just one on and off. Okay, on and off. Now let's focus on just one single key, on and off. Now, suppose you want to do it 100 times a second. You see, as a human, we cannot do it. Like when you play arcade games, you used to, like we have to press the buttons, like we try. Everyone tries. But as human, you cannot do 100 times a second. You cannot. But on the mouse, for example, let me show you example. Okay, here is what you can do. You see this wheel, this mouse wheel. This mouse wheel can. For example, let me show you. Let me go all the way up. Can you hear? I'm just, for example, let me show you the my mouse. You see, now it's clicky. You see, I just keep spin, like doing that. That way is far faster than you can, hit a key. Uh, let's see, for example, let's see, space. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I try to do it. Of course, you can also hold it down today, but that's a different thing. That's a different That's a software interpretation. When the key is on, keeps on, it just keeps sending it. But we are talking about physically. You cannot do that much. But however, if I set my mouse such that when I spin the wheel, I don't know if you can hear it. This way you can do like far more sending of signals than pressing on off. So that's a difference. You see, even though both of them are simply one and zeros. That's an example. But anyway, so what were we talking about? Okay, so 6 people. So guys, so say something. Okay, so so are we so let me finish talking about that thing that let me fix that so you can just don't get screwed up. uh, okay, so this way. Okay, so let's get back to we were talking about 3D math models of 3D input control. Okay, so you have the signals. You can look at this, what kind of signals, what how they how you can look at this at the signals point of view, and you can also look at the physical control, how the human hand is able to control with respect to the signal it sends. So anyway, that's about different input devices. Mouse, joystick, trackball, trackpad. You can look at all of them, and keyboard. You can look at all of them from this perspective. Then you can easily see which one is. You can see that they are very different, and certain are suitable for certain tasks. For example, another example is pen drawing, drawing tablet. For example, you see, I have the drawing tablet here. I can start to move my mouse. Oops, uh, I need to put it back. Okay, so you see, that's a pen tablet. So if you draw, it makes a huge difference. Because so what I'm saying is that, you see, you can see that this is about it's about the signals, but that's as far as signal goes, this is very similar to mouse. You see, this tablet pen, digital pen, is very similar to mouse, but different. However, so what is the difference? Because with a mouse, you see, the pointer it cannot jump from place to place. It cannot jump. You see, you look at my mouse pointer. It must always smoothly move. Forms a path. But with a digital pen, I made the with a digital pen, you can like make it jump to places. So that is the different. That's one of the difference. That's a difference on, as far as the signal is concerned. That's one of the difference. The other difference is that with a pen, because the human the physiology, it allows you to control the pointer much more finely. You can write and draw with this, but it's very hard to do with the mouse. You see, so so there are two aspects. One is the signal, kind of the mathematical aspect of what kind of signal, how can it jump or can it not, can it change speed, things like that. On the other hand, is the shape of the input device, how they relate to the human physiology. That also matters significantly, and that is a major difference between digital pen and the mouse or trackball. Okay, for example. So actually, I don't. We talked about so we were talking about the differences between input devices. Okay, let's get back to the multiplayer gaming mouse. Okay, the massive MMO mouse. This is great. Okay, the MMO mouse is great, but one problem, it's great because it's so many buttons. So many buttons that allows you to. Let's plug this in so that you can see so you can see it lights up. Yay! So you see, let's see. You see, it lights up, and let's see if I can change it. Yeah, you see, yeah. Now it's red. It's red, blue, white. Kind of purple, purplish white. So you see, that's this mouse. MMO mouse. This is great one, by the way. Okay, buy it from my Amazon. Okay, you go buy it. Now, so multi button, fantastic, but here's a problem. It's not exactly well. It's depending on how you use it. So if you are a heavy user, basically the point is that the button is not as easy to press as the keyboard key, big key. It's a bit more harder, okay, harder to press. So even though when you are using a mouse, you can use the buttons to control. Actually, I should, so you don't have to lift your hand. Like, for example, if I want to close window, so I'm, for example, you are browsing, I'm looking around, click, looking around. Then suppose I want to close the window. Then you have to no, suppose you want to do copy and paste, so you select, uh, then you move your hand back to the keyboard, then Control C, then back to the mouse, then you go here and Control V. So you have to switch your hand from mouse to keyboard often. But with that multiple button mouse, you don't have to anymore. So everything is one single key press on the mouse. That's the point of the mouse. But the problem is that the buttons are not, it's not that ergonomic. Okay, if you use it for, if you really use computer a lot, you don't want to uh, rely on using these buttons much, because they are not like keyboard keys, which is very easy to press. They require some kind of pressure, like, and you don't want to do that often, so that is a problem about the MMO mouse. So I should end this video, because I've been talking nonstop for quite a while. But the news about the keyboard is this Keystone keyboard. There's so many, there's so much going on with this keyboard. This is highly recommended. Okay, Keystone keyboard. You can go to my website and look at it. This keyboard is analog keyboard, meaning that the keys are, oh, as we mentioned before, a button is usually on and off, but that's not the case with this keyboard. These are analog keys, meaning that it's not just on and off. There's like levels. It's like a gas pedal. It can know how much you pushed. Okay, so analog keys, and actually, I'm wondering if I should end the video. Because because it's 9 o'clock here. So analog keys. So John D. Board, I just read your article on reading manuals. I have the same problem of studying the text as opposed to the idea. So so hold on a second. Let me cover one of my eyes. I think because I'm going cross-eye. So fold a toilet paper, fold and look. Now I can I can see. So John says, I just read your article on reading manuals. I have which one? Because I think I have quite a few. I have the same problem of studying the text as opposed to the idea. Do you have any advice on overcoming that? So yeah, I don't know which article and what do you mean reading reference manuals. Yeah, but what do you mean by, because I don't remember which article. I have actually quite a lot about reading about manuals. Uh, oh, I've read few of them from cover to cover. So do I okay, so do I have any advice on overcoming that? Yeah, don't do that. Don't never, don't read manuals from cover to cover. In fact, as for novels, maybe novels, yeah, cover to cover, yeah, but so I used to have the habit since young. I need to read cover to cover from the first, from cover, the actual cover, from the, whatever, it must be the beginning, then the preface, then the table of content, every word. Yeah, just skim. So yeah, definitely. So that's a bottom line. When you read a book, your goal is to just get, quickly get what it, the gist, what the good parts, whatever the value of the book. So you want to get that. Once you get that, spend 10 minutes or whatever, however amount, 10, a few hours or whatever. You want to try to get the point first. Then if you have more time, you can, you can repeat, or you can read cover to cover. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I say. uh yeah, so that's about that. And good morning, Bartholomew. Your stream start late. It's 6 a.m. here. uh, so it's 6 a.m. in your place, so which means you are somewhere in UK. Am I right? Germany. I think I asked you before, Germany. Yeah, so you are 9 hours ahead. And So what do you mean late? So anyway, let's talk about, so I'm gonna let's talk about, I've been talking for an hour. I kind of have to go, and but so today's talk show. So we talked a lot about, actually, it's all about keyboards and lots of things about. Uh, but anyway, so this keyboard is very interesting. It's got analog keys, okay, and right now it's on a Kickstarter. So you wanna, well, if you are interested in keyboard, you might go check it out and maybe support or buy them. Analog keys, okay. And by the way, analog keys. This one is not the first. There's a one before called Wooting, and I also have link here. You can see this came out earlier, like 2 years. This one first. It's analog keys, and also this guy is a great keyboard expert. His name is Kwayo-san. That's not his real name, of course, but you can, if you go to my website, you'll see the YouTube, because right now I'm on local. I don't have JavaScript on. So anyway, Wooting is a analog keyboard. And great. This Kwayo-san, he's a keyboard switch expert. He's an expert on keyboard switch, and you know he's an expert. He know a lot about it, and he highly recommend these analog keys. And so not, but that company is in Europe. This one, Wooting, I think it's in Europe, Switzerland or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But this Keystone is from here, U.S. San Jose, I think. Down there. So you want to check it out. Wooting. I mean the Keystone keyboard. So it's using Hall effect switch. So we should talk about that. But I kind of so today we kind of so I was talking. Oh, I was talking. I spent a lot of time on how sucky Apple has become. Yeah, the Apple design and stuff. What's Apple design? Then Keystone keyboard, and this one is just pretty, and some of the cute keycaps. Okay, so this is great, cute keycaps. This is paw and gnaw, and the mushroom and the palm. Okay, so I think that's it for today. I wanted to talk about programming, but I haven't got into. But I gotta go. 9 o'clock. I gotta go. Uh, Deckways and me wanted to join your stream lately, but 6 a.m. is too early. Late. Okay. Oh. So is it too early for you, or it's too early for you? You mean? Okay. So let's do this. So tomorrow I'm going to be on at, let's say, 4 o'clock California time. Does that work for you? So 4 p.m. California, San Francisco time. So that would be 12. That would be midnight for you, like 1 o'clock a.m. So that would be too late, right? So yeah, I think tomorrow, it could be 3 p.m., but not earlier. I don't think. 4 o'clock means midnight. Yes, it's fine. No, 3 p.m. San Francisco time will be equals to German midnight. Okay, So that's so but I'm thinking so Mina is fine. So 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, 3 p.m. tomorrow. So do you guys what topic do you are you interested? Programming or keyboards or any? Okay, let's do so tomorrow. Let's try 3 p.m. then. Okay, yeah. So let me know. Are you guys programmers? Are you like what kind of things you'd be interested? Because I talk about lots of random kind of. Oh, okay, programming languages comparisons. Okay, okay. So let's do that. So tomorrow, guys, tomorrow 3 p.m. San Francisco time. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye.